Hey guys, so today is going to be a story time video about the time that I went on a date with an ex-convict. No, this is not clickbait. This happened about 4 years ago. I was on a break from my ex-boyfriend, and at the time I was working at a bar, and this guy used to come in all the time, really handsome, Hispanic looking guy, and he used to kind of flirt with me, but I'm socially challenged, so I can't usually tell when someone is flirting with me. Like, sometimes I will misinterpret flirting as people just being nice to me, but apparently this guy was flirting with me. And I had a boyfriend during the time that he used to come visit me at the bar, so I would always talk to him about my boyfriend, and he would be like, oh, I'm single and blah blah blah. So about a year went by and I didn't see him for a long time, and during this time my boyfriend and I kind of broke up, and we were broken up for about a month, and I was pretty down in the dumps. And lo and behold, one day while I was working at the bar during my day shift, this guy walks in, and I'm like, wow, I haven't seen him in a long time. And he was friendly with me as he usually was. It was a very slow day, so there weren't a lot of people at the bar, and eventually this guy asked me if I was still with my boyfriend, and I was like, no, we actually broke up. And he asked me why. I was like, well, he's a really thoughtless person. He's very selfish. I feel like I put way more effort into the relationship than he does. I go out and I'm always buying him gifts or taking him out to dinner. He kind of just like sits at home and smokes weed. I've never even gotten flowers from this guy. Like, he's never put in any kind of effort to make me feel special in the relationship. So he's like, well, that's a shame because you're a really beautiful girl, and you know, if I could get the chance, I would love to take you out sometime and show you how a man really treats a woman. And I was like, really? Oh my god, like, are you asking me out? And turns out he was, but the only problem was that he lived in New York City. So I was living in Connecticut at the time, and he told me that he was returning to the city the next day and that he'd have no problem coming to my house, picking me up and driving the both of us to New York City, and then he was gonna like take us out to dinner or do something fun with me. So I gave him my number, and I was like, you know what, dude, I don't know if this is such a good idea because I just recently broke up with my boyfriend. I will get back to you. I'll let you know. I don't even think I said that exactly. I think I just told him that I'll think about it. I'll see if I can do it, but I knew I could go because I had the day off, but I just wasn't sure if I was ready to take that leap and go on a date with somebody so soon after breaking up with my ex. So I got home and I was thinking about it, and I talked to my mom about it, and she's like, Stephanie, are you crazy? You've been so depressed and so sad about your breakup for the past week that you should go with this guy. Maybe he'll show you a good time, and you love going to New York City, so this is just like a great excuse to go to the city. All right, mom. Mom's always right. Let me go on a date with this guy. So I texted him back and I said that I was down and that he would pick me up, and then he told me that he was gonna come pick me up the next day. So, oh my god. The next day he comes and picks me up, and he pulls up into my driveway with a really fancy Lexus, and I was like, whoa, hot damn, this guy either borrowed his rich friend's car or like, damn, he's got money. So I walk up to the car, I open the door, and I notice that on the passenger seat is a huge bouquet of flowers, like insanely huge, guys. So I'm immediately shocked and like, wow, this is amazing. And the whole entire drive to New York City, I was kind of shitting my pants because he drove really fast, and no matter how many times I told him to slow the fuck down, he just kept driving really fast. Like, I'm not saying he was driving like 80 miles per hour. He was driving like 100 miles per hour all the way to New York City. So the conversation between us was really good. He was very sweet. There was an absence of some chemistry there, but maybe it's because I was like really nervous, or maybe he was nervous. And eventually we arrived at his apartment, and he had a really nice apartment in Manhattan. And at that point, I brought it upon myself to ask him, okay, dude, like, what do you do for a living? Because you have a really nice car and a really nice apartment in Manhattan. And he was very vague about what he did. He said that he like worked in like the medical field doing some like medical stuff, and I was like, oh, that makes sense. So we had a couple drinks at his place, and then eventually he called us a car, and we ended up going to the Gansevoort Hotel in Manhattan, which I thought was kind of a weird place to go on a first date because it is a nightclub. It wasn't like the romantic, quiet, get to know each other kind of date that I was hoping it would be. After we left the club, we were a little bit tipsy, and we're sitting in the back of a cab, and I was like talking about myself, and then out of nowhere, like in the middle of my sentence when I'm trying to tell him about myself, he just leans in and starts trying to make out with me, and I back away and I kind of laugh a little bit, but I'm like, okay, this is I was just trying to tell you something about myself. And he's like, oh, I'm sorry, I just really wanted to kiss you, like you have really kissable lips. And I'm just like, okay, that's like a little corny, you don't have to go and say that. And then I think he kind of got the hint, and he realized that I wanted to talk and like get to know him before things got physical between us. And I think that since we were both a little bit drunk, he felt like being honest in front of me. So he was like, you know, I'm gonna tell you something that might change the way you look at me. And I was like, oh no, oh my gosh, what are you gonna tell me? Are you gonna tell me that you're married, that you have a girlfriend, you have a pet chimpanzee? I hope so. And this is when the entire tone of the date like completely changed. He said, I just recently got out of jail. And I kind of just like sat there for a moment in the back of this cab where this man was just confessing to me that he was an ex-convict. I was a little confused, but I was willing to have an open mind because I know that sometimes people go to jail for stupid mistakes that they make during bad times in their life. So I asked him what did he go to jail for, and he told me that he was there for a couple of years because of drug running, and I guess he was like exporting cocaine between state borders. So, I don't know, like a part of me was like, okay, Stephanie, be open-minded. Like anybody can find themselves in this position. But then another part of me is like, I don't know how I feel about that. Like, that's kind of shitty, dude. I mean, it's not like you're a rapist or a pedophile or you didn't murder anybody, but like you transported a drug that's not even like a good drug. You know, maybe if it was like marijuana, I would have thought of it differently, but cocaine, I don't know. But I really just tried not to be judgmental, and I did try to enjoy the rest of my evening with him. But at that point, I became a little bit more unsure of him because I'm thinking to myself, like, he just got out of prison and like now he's got this nice car and like this really nice apartment, and his job just like doesn't seem to add up. And I could kind of tell he felt that I was distancing myself a little bit away from him as the night went on. So he offered to let me sleep over his apartment so I wouldn't have to take the train home late at night. And I was unsure, but my mom knew where I was staying and he did know my boss at work. So I was like, you know what? He might be an ex-convict, but I really don't think he's going to like try to murder me. And he was actually pretty sweet because he let me stay in his bedroom and he slept on the couch. So at the end of the night, he did end up being a gentleman. I never went on another date with him again, and I think the number one reason why that is because there really was no chemistry between us. Also, I think there were a lot of sketchy things about him, and I was never truly sure if he was a sketchy person until a couple years later, and that was when he started working for my boss at the bar, and then apparently he worked there for a couple of months and got fired. And when I asked my boss about it, he said that it's because things were starting to go missing and that certain things with this guy weren't adding up. So at that moment, I knew that I had made a really good judgment call about him. So I'm really glad that I went with my instincts. But I also think that this serves as a lesson to not always judge people by their past, because we all make mistakes, even if that mistake means committing felonies and going to prison. Like, I definitely think that society should give prisoners who have been released second chances, but like maybe I don't want to date one. Okay, so that's it for today's story time video. Let me know what you guys think. Would you be able to date somebody that's a convicted felon? Or are you dating somebody that's a convicted felon? I would like to know. But yeah, thank you guys so much for watching. Make sure to click the thumbs up button, subscribe to my channel, and click the little bell next to it so you can become part of the notification squad. And I will see you guys tomorrow. Bye!